All right, guys, welcome back to another KevCAM night class tonight. Tonight, have Andrew helping out with any questions or concerns that come along the way for you guys. Andrew, you with us?
Yo.
And good old Greg Payton to help out, and we're going to need his extra help today, as we are going to be
Good evening, everybody.
Sorry, as we're going to be programming Swiss screw from absolute start to finish. On tonight, we're actually going to be programming this on a Citizen Swiss machine. So I do see a lot of new names in here. So I'll kind of go through my regular rigmarole here. We use GoToWebinar for everybody, and everybody is on mute right now just to eliminate any background noise. But if you guys do have questions, please type those into the questions panel, and Andrew will read them off for me. And get those questions addressed right away. So definitely feel free to ask these questions at any time of the presentation. Very laid back, easygoing. And we also love to hear your feedback as well if you want to see a specific class or anything like that. And as soon as I can find my chat, where is my, there it is. I will put my email address in there for you guys so everybody has my email address. So if you guys do have suggestions, send those over to me via email. And then last but not least here, every video is being recorded, so you guys can come back and review them as well. And the YouTube channel is called SolidCAM University, and we're trying to do a tip of the day every day, but we've been a little busy lately. And then each of these night classes are being recorded. So, all right, I think we got a bunch of people in here, so we'll get the ball rolling here. Get everything minimized. So here is our part that we're going to be cutting. And this is a great test part to, Daniel actually came up with this part more or less to test out all the axes of the Citizen machine as we're going through improving out the post processor for you guys. And kind of how it works for the US is if you guys purchase Swiss, that includes on-site training, post-approval, and all that stuff. So this is probably the part that will actually be running on your machine as it tests live tooling, B-axis tooling, static tooling, main spindle, sub spindle, and all that stuff, and we'll get into all that. So, but from right here, we'll just go to SolidCAM new milling, or I'm sorry, new mill turn, and we'll just do it as external. And like I said, we're going to take this part from absolute start to finish here. So, and this is, we're going to be kind of going over this part for the next few weeks. I have it, the time slotted for you guys to do this over a 4-week period, but if we finish this up sooner, we'll slide something else in there. So I just wasn't sure on how much to allocate for this part doing the Swiss. So we may be a little bit off, as Greg was telling me earlier. Okay, so we're going to grab our Citizen post processor right here, and this, when you guys do purchase, it is going to be provided for you guys. Now, creating a coordinate system. So a lot of you guys that have been watching the night classes over the last few years, you'll notice with the Swiss is it's identical to mill turn. There's no difference at all. You set it up the same way with cord sys. There's a little bit difference with the setup, but when it comes to actual programming, it's going to be the exact same thing as milling or turning for you guys. All right, so we'll just do center of revolution, and we'll call it good right there. And what it's actually going to do is it's going to create a second coordinate system for us. And right now it's creating a envelope of the actual turn revolved model and building our stock. And as we're kind of going through this, I expect Greg to hop in here every once in a while and get me on the straight and narrow too, as he's a little bit more well versed in the Swiss stuff.
Well, I think my computer's still catching up there, Kevin.
Okay.
I may have to feed the gerbils that are powering my internet right now.
A little bit of lag.
Oh, yeah. Lots of lag on my end.
Okay, so first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to import my tools. Now, when you guys go to purchase the Swiss module, all this tooling will be provided for you for the tooling of the basic Peru vote. There's nothing special about the tooling in here. The only difference, and Greg, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the difference is where it's located. So if it's on part of your gang tooling or live tooling, if it's part of the B-axis, all that stuff. And also the H length is the value that is sticking out of your tool holder, or your tool stick out is basically what's going on there. So let's, I'm going to import my tools here. And that's it. Do all. And tool number one is always going to be your part off tool. So just kind of keep that as remembering as well. So what we're going to do here is, now that I got my tools in here, yep, we're going to save that. Now what we're going to get into is the setup. Now with the setup is the exact same thing as what you guys have seen in the past with all our setups, but the biggest thing here is there is no clamping fixture. No matter what, there is no clamping fixture for the main spindle. Now, every once in a while when you guys are using the back spindle and you guys are having to use a extended collet or a extended guide bushing, then we would have to use that as a fixture. But otherwise, we are not using any fixture, so you want to set that to none. And this is a button up here, the machine preview, that you're going to get used to using a lot, especially with the Swiss, just because with Swiss, everything is so tight in there and clearances are key. So you can hit this machine preview and you can actually see what's going on. If I hit this little icon where it says focus on target, it's going to bring me right into where my part is being located at that specific time. And we want to make sure that these are all zeroed out. And another thing is kind of like with our mill turn, for our main spindle, we want to have that set as stock in. So, and if I kind of zoom out here, you can kind of get a picture of the machine. So we got the main spindle over here. We got the sub spindle or the back spindle over here. We have our gang static. I think is it the top are static, Greg, and the bottom are live, or is it the reverse?
No, you're going to have a combination of both.
Okay.
The top ones are definitely dynamic tools. 37, 38, and 39 are static, but the rest are capable of being driven.
Okay.
For this particular module.
And then on the main spindle here, you'll see that we have tool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is like for your lathe tooling. And we have our B-axis head over here, which is live for 11, 12, 13, 14. And like I said, we're showing this right now as a star machine. So if you guys are running a Citizen or a Sagami, it may look just a little bit different. But when you guys get the Swiss, go ahead.
Real quick, Kevin.
Yep.
This one is the Citizen.
Oh, what did I say?
The star.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting everybody mixed up. So yeah, this is the Citizen, not the star. And these machine previews will be based off of your machine, which would be created by either Greg Payton or Greg Abbas. Okay, so that is our machine setup here. So now that we have our tooling in there, we got our setup in there, you don't have to bring the tooling in right away. You guys can do that as you add it in there, but since I have the tooling built for this particular part right here, just kind of skip through that process just because we've seen all the tools being built before. So let's get into programming now. Like I said before, simple, easy, basic stuff. So I'll just do a regular turning facing operation. Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself here. So before we can start, what we want to do is insert what is called a MCO, which is a machine control operation. And we want to add the machining data. So in the machining data, what is actually going to be happening is the part off tool is going to come in there and part it off and kind of create a machine, not zero, but kind of a machine reference point. So we'll add that MCO in here, and I can show you guys what it looks like. So here's all the MCOs that are predefined per this machine. And like I said, if you're running a Star or Sagami, these are all going to be different for you guys as well. So it's all dependent on the machine. So we're going to do machine data. And the biggest thing you want to look at here, and the thing that's really just going to change the most, is your machine length. Now, with the machine length is the total length of your part plus your variance. So how much do you want to cut off on the front, and how much do you want to have left over on the back side to do a facing operation on there. So that's what we got set at the 3.14961 right now. This number can be whatever you guys want. I did go over something a little too fast, but when we did the stock right here, if you guys are using a bar puller, you only keep the stock to the stock size of your part. Don't take in consideration your entire 8-foot long bar that you have sitting out there. It's just going to be the size of your part plus whatever you want for to clean up the both ends. So we got our machine length in here, safety distance. It's calling up tool number 1 to do a cutoff, just doing a spin right here, and a cutoff feed, the end position in the diameter of a clearance, and then part chuck 1. I'm trying to remember what that one is. Greg, do you remember offhand? Or is that just a number parameter?
That's how many parts you want to run within that same feed out. So
okay.
If you're going to be doing 2 or 3 different parts with the same headstock moving, it's just how many parts that headstock can push out before it has to reposition itself.
Gotcha.
With the bar feeder.
Gotcha. And we're setting this part up as if we're running in a guide bushing. So the part can go throughout that guide bushing. Okay, so now we basically created our machine reference point by adding this in there. So I can just save and calculate. I can see this if I want. If I do my zoom in here, and we should see our tooling here. So you can see it's lined up. Everything's ready to go for that that tool number 1 to do that reference point right there. So now that we got that set, now we can start doing our turning. So I'll just do a facing here. And that's going to be our Mac 1, position 1. And just like what we've are all used to doing here, just doing a simple facing operation here. So I'll do auto extend to my stock, hit the green check mark. We're going to be facing off that material. And I'll grab a tool. So tool number 1 is my cutoff. Tool number 2 is going to be my tool here. Let me kind of bring this in. You can rotate it around, see it. So just a simple roughing finishing tool CAAA insert, green check mark. Levels, I'm not going to be too concerned, staying away, that 78 thou. Now technology, just doing a simple facing. We can set it to finish and save and calculate. So now if we go to our turning, pretty much like what we've seen all the way through. Let's take a peek at our machine simulation. Okay, let all the tools get loaded up here. Okay, so if I zoom in here, so you can see our tool number 2, our roughing and finishing. We kind of get zoomed in here, and I'm gonna slow this way down. So it did the roughing and the finishing pass. So now we're up to size on that face. And for those of you guys that aren't used to programming Swiss machines, even for myself, it's definitely different seeing that material go in and out of that spindle versus the tooling moving back and forth. So, okay, so we're good on our facing. So let's do our OD now. So what I can do is just do a regular turning. And we'll chain this part up to right here. And I'll just do an auto extend this to our end here. And we'll use that same tool. And we'll do a finish as well. Hit OK. And let's do a turning up right here. So our tool can't quite get all the way down in that deep groove. So what we can do is just make a copy of what we've done right here. And let's do save and copy. And we'll switch it out to a different tool. Do select here. And this one, yep. All right, and so I can just do save and calculate from right here, and it's just going to come in here and clean up just that area that was left off there. Maybe I want to take just a skim pass over the entire thing. So what we can do is go to our technology, and instead of doing rest material on the finishing, I can just do entire geometry. Save and calculate, and turning. Going to take a little bite out of there, and now we should be able to get in there. Yep. Now,
real quick, yep, before you go into that, what version are you working in for this particular demonstration, Kevin?
We are 2018 Service Pack 2 Hotfix 6.
Okay, for those of you that are currently running Swiss, we know it's very important that if you are using a guide bushing, that you don't want to do any OD turning that's longer than that guide bushing, because you don't want to be slamming any sharp corners into that bushing if that headstock is pulling that material in and out. One of the new features in SolidCAM 2019 is going to be the ability to chamfer the stock in case you do need to do anything that's longer. That way you have somewhat of a land to go into that guide bushing with. So hopefully we'll be doing a KevCAM night class that'll be showing off that functionality here in the future. But that is something that is happening currently and will be available in the next release of SolidCAM.
Yeah, great point. Forgot about that part. Okay, so now get kind of zoomed in here and run that through real slow. Come get that little piece out of there and do its finishing all the way through. And our workpiece retracts back in there for our, not home position, but safety distance. Okay. Now with Swiss 2, what I was going to say is get used to using your machine sim nonstop. Get used to using your machine preview nonstop, because like I said before, with the Swiss machines, there's a lot of stuff that's packed into a little tiny area, and clearance is number one for everything. So definitely want to check all that stuff out. So now what I want to do is I want to use the static tooling from my gang tooling on the back spindle. So before I do that, I need to get everything kind of aligned, and I'm gonna do what's called a machine pattern. And now each machine has its own machine patterns. So since we are running a Citizen here, Citizen has, was it 6 different machine patterns, Greg?
Yeah, I believe it's 5 or 6. We're going to have 600, 610. I know there's 650, 630.
And each one of these do a certain cycle. Let's see, call it like a machining cycle, I guess you could say. So what I want to do here is I want to start my pattern, and I want to get everything kind of lined up with the main spindle, or my X and Z lined up. So what you can do is go into our add machine control. We'll do a G610 X, my X2 Z2. And this kind of locates that sub spindle and calls for that tooling to be the main spindle to be lined up with that backside tooling.
I think it'd be good to show like a machine preview. That way you can let everybody know just what tooling you're intending to work with.
Yeah, good call. So I am intending to use tool number 24, which, yeah, you had a great point, Greg. So I'm going to try to give this a view here where you guys can all see it. So my tool number 24 over on my sub spindle over here, like I said, is set to static. So basically what's happening is with this G610 pattern is we're kind of getting everything lined up so it can use this drill over on the sub spindle. And what my goal is to just do a center drill and drill out the center or this center hole down over. Just kind of move this out of the way. Minimize this hole right here in the center. And like Greg was saying, you always want to just double check your machine preview. It's pretty much in every menu inside the mill turn to make sure you know what tooling you're going to be using and all that stuff. Now this is where it's kind of nice to have your tooling set up ahead of time, so you can kind of come in here and see what tooling you have and where it's located. Now obviously if I'm using tool number 36, I cannot use that for the main. That can only be used for the sub. So did I cover that all good, Greg? See if we can calculate.
Yeah, I think for the most part, basically the short end of it is we're allowing the X2 axis to work on the Z1 axis, which is basically an axis that it wouldn't normally be working on. So what we have to do is go into a different axis pattern to allow those two axes to line up.
There you go. Okay, so now that we have those axes all lined up, now I can do my drilling. So if I come in here, grab my tool, select, and like I said before, I'm going to be using my tool number 24, and these are all labeled, at least in my mind, easy to kind of determine where their locations are. So I got it set up as, tool 1 through 5 is all my turning tools that are for the main spindle. 6 and 7, or even the one that we're using right here. So tool number 24, the opposite side. But that's where it comes in handy of having that machine preview in there as well. And I can kind of see it over here of what's going on and making sure that tool is pointing in the right direction. But I feel like I'm rambling on. All right, so I'll set up our levels here. Start level, I'll just click on my face. And end, and go down to that point, and we'll just do cutter tip. Good enough. Save and calculate. And let's take a peek and see what's going on here. Okay, there it goes. Now, with the machine simulation, it does take just a little bit longer to pull up just because there's so much going on in here. The more powerful computer you're running, the faster the stuff will be for you. But all right, so let's get into our part here. We'll run it through real slow. And it's going so fast that we're not even seeing it. Let me just do a quick turn in here to make sure I get everything set up. Yep. Okay, so it was just the machine simulation was just playing a little too fast. So it was just showing it as a quick dart in and out. But that's essentially what we're doing right there, is just doing a simple drilling operation. So now that we have our drilling operation set up here, now what we need to do is send that that sub spindle back to the reference position, so it can go back and start working on its other stuff on that sub. And we'll get into that in the last part of the class with the channel sync. But so I need to send that axis or that sub spindle back home. So what we're going to do is create another MCO. Oops. And there we go. And I'm going to grab that same pattern, except just do the Z to reference. And basically what's going on here is just sending it back to its reference spot. And we can see that in our machine preview. And update stock, update fixture. And I was thinking it was going to show it moving back, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong here. Okay. So we're going back to our home position. Once we create our next operation, we'll actually see that happen. Operation, so we're going to exit. Save and calculate. And we can do a simulate right here, just on that MCO. All right, so it's kind of back at its position spot, and now it should retract back. So yep, so it just retracted back, and now this spindle can keep working on over here with this set of tooling, and we can keep continuing on over here. So basically, it's just kind of telling it to just do a, you know, a go home move, is essentially what's going on there. Any questions so far? I don't even have the questions panel up, so Andrew would have to fill me in if there is any, but I didn't hear anything yet.
Not so
Tell you
far.
what, it looks like minds are blown. You are.
We're blowing minds, or we have eyes glazed over.
You have Swiss screwed everybody's brain right now.
That was good. So we're going to keep continuing programming this part, but as you guys can see, we're just doing basic, simple milling or turning. The only thing that's out of the ordinary is having these MCOs in there to create our reference point, to align the sub spindle to do a drilling operation on the main spindle, to send that sub spindle back home. So there's not a whole lot that's to the Swiss, and everybody, you know, even I definitely admit it, even myself, when you mentioned Swiss, it's like, oh man, yeah, this is going to be some hard stuff. Once you get into it, it's quite easy, especially the way that Daniel and Greg Payton and Greg Abbas are going to be setting up the posts for you guys. Really simplified things to make it as easy as possible for you guys as well. A lot of pressure there, Greg, so don't mess up. All right.
Yeah, it's not going to be a problem. I'm giving everything to Greg Abbas. He's the mastermind behind this operation.
Okay, so
I'm just the face.
the pretty face.
Exactly.
The face for go-to-meeting webinar.
Yeah.
With no camera.
The face for radio.
The face for radio, that's right.
Yep. Okay, so now we are going to do our threads. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab a straight line that's going across these threads right here. And we'll accept that. And we are going to be using our threading tool, which is on the 1 through 4 section. And that's not our threader. Yep, there's our threading tool. So we'll grab that guy. And we'll hop over to technology here and finish allowance. Let's do 5,000 finish pass. I just know because I'm looking at the print that this is 16 threads per inch. And I want a thread depth of 20 thou. And we'll do a finish pass on our threads. Okay, looks good. For those guys that didn't know, I think I covered this in the threading, but you guys do have the option to do different patterns for your threading. So right now it's just going through the center, working its way, but if you want to start over on the left side, right side, vice versa. So let's hit calculate.
And definitely make sure your machine supports it, because not all machines support the different threading patterns. And if you do want to change up your threading patterns and the machine does support it, make sure you get with your post-processor writer. That way that can be built into your post.
Yeah, because you guys might be selecting a specific pattern that you want, and it's not outputting that pattern. It's just doing the standard pattern. All right, and okay, we save and calculate. Simulate this, and go to our machine sim here. You guys are going to get sick of me showing machine sim, but like I said, it's pretty essential just because there's so much going on. All right. And trying to get zoomed in just for the right part for you guys. So you can see our threading insert right here. Now it's not going to actually show physical threads on there, I think if we do solid verify, it may show the threads, but I can't. Yep. So you can see your actual threads right there. Or if we go over to turning, it's going to kind of wipe out. Oh, it is showing it. So you're just not able to see everything that's going on. So sort of that the machine sim and the solid verify and everything kind of comes all into factor for you guys. Okay. So let's do our let's do the front face here. Pocket this material out of here, and then we can get to drilling out these two holes here. So for that, we're just going to go to our 2.5D, just do a pocket, and we'll do new geometry, and I'll utilize the Smart Face technology. So we got our two chains on there. One is marked as open. Tool, select, and I want to use live tooling. Here we go. And that looks good. Upper level is right here. Lower level is right here. We'll take it all in one depth of cut. Pocketing, just as what we've normally seen. Save and calculate here. And let's just view it in Solid Verify real quick. That went really quick. Okay. Do machine sim.
Now, for that type of pocketing, are you doing anything special with the C-axis there?
So I need to, well, let's, we'll do two different ways. Unless I'm missing out on something that you're talking about, Greg. So you can see our tooling going around here. Speed up a little bit. Okay, so that's way one. Now, I think what Greg is getting to is, if we go to our motion control and turn on fourth axis right here, one second here.
No, you're correct. You want to be working on the face.
Okay, so I want to make sure I was doing this right here. Save and calculate here. Now, let's do a simulate and machine sim. So basically that tool should stay stationary and the spindle should rotate now versus the tool going around it, if I'm thinking that correctly.
Yeah, using the C-axis to make the cut as opposed to the XY.
All right, so get it zoomed in here and play this through. So now you can see our spindle. Yeah, what Greg was saying. we go. Any questions on that at all for anybody? Okay. Okay, so now basically we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to be drilling out those 2 holes. So I can come in here and do my milling drilling, because I cannot do a turning drilling because it's not on center, it's off center. So what I need to do is pull up my live tooling. So we'll do a drilling here and grab that face. Tool, select, and I need my live tooling for this. So it's going to be live tooling. And like I said before, if you want to ever take a peek and make sure everything's where we want it. And let's go to technology, levels, and our start is going to be here. And do our drill depth as our point. We're doing cutter tip. Technology, we'll just do a single drill. Save and calculate. Feed is not in range. Okay. So we can play this through and solid verify here. So just doing our basic drilling. Now, oops. If we go into our machine simulation here. Now, some of you guys may be looking at this, especially with the MCOs, and, well, how do I know, you know, what tooling is doing what and all that stuff? It's no different than you guys knowing your mill. You guys know what that mill can do. You know what tools are in what stations. And so, like with these MCOs, you know that anytime it goes to use a static tooling on this back spindle, that we need to have those G610 patterns in there. So you may be asking yourself, well, why do I have to put it right here versus somewhere else? And it's all part of the machine. So at least for the customers that we were on site with Greg and I, they already knew what these patterns were, and they let us know where that machine had to move to. Hopefully I said that correctly. Okay, play that through. Ooh, fast. Play. So drill 1 hole, drill 2 hole. So pretty simple, easy. Now, what I want to do here is I want to retract my B-axis to get it back to the home position. So as I see it right now, my B-axis is still in the way, so I cannot use any of my turning tools or any tooling on the back, just because of the B-axis is sitting kind of sitting in the way for us here. And so what we want to do here is do our next pockets, but I got to get that out of the way. So I'll shut up here and we'll go to another machine control here. And this particular one, we want the B-axis to retract. So I should be able to find B-axis retract, and more or less B-axis to go to its whole position. Is there anything else I'm missing in here with the B-axis retract, Greg?
No, it's basically just a macro cycle to, or I guess not macro in a G-code perspective, but just a way for us to get that B-axis out of the way using a simple MCO cycle. So, yep, you're doing everything right.
Perfect. All right, so we can do a save and calculate. If we want, we can just do a simulation on this.
Now, maybe Andrew can speak to this, but with the Swiss package, I believe Machine Sim is involved, right? Or included?
Yes.
Oh, it's already home. So it's showing its original position, and then it swung over to the left to get out of the way. So we can start using the tooling up here to do our, we'll get into doing our pocket on the top next. But I want to stop right here. Do we have any questions, guys? Because I know I just covered quite a bit more or less on the machine or the MCO side. But any questions going forward for what we got right currently? I think this is a good, if we don't, this is a good spot to kind of call it for a night. And we will get into finishing this space over here, doing our wrap functionality over here, and angle holes and all that fun stuff. Greg, am I missing anything?
No, I'm just seeing if we have anybody that's got a Swiss need in the crowd that might have any questions about what they saw this evening.
I did talk to Ronnie earlier today, and he said he's going to buy a Swiss package for the three main ones out there. So a Swiss for a Sagami, Citizen, and a Star Machine. So,
well, good for him. See if he can get a Groupon discount.
Yeah. You'd see the chat section so I can see if he's even writing me back. But yeah, so let's next week we'll keep continuing on here. Like I said, we are going to program this part from start to finish, and I've kind of made it through as much as I want to cover and fill your guys' head full of information for tonight. Like I said, next week we'll continue on programming this part for you guys. But I don't see, Randy says sure. Don't see any questions. Now, let me ask you this. I see a couple of people chatting in there. Is, for those of you guys that don't currently have a Swiss machine, does this look hard to program after kind of going through just the first, the main portions of what we've gone through so far? No, yeah, okay. That's my thought too, Rick. After Greg and Daniel kind of showed me the ropes, like, oh, this ain't so bad. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I'll end it off there. I'll just learning Swiss looks easy. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll kind of leave off there. I'll stop rambling on here. And if you guys do run across questions as we're kind of going through this, don't feel comfortable for asking them right now, definitely feel free to email me. My email address is in the chat. For those of you guys that are watching this on YouTube, my email is in the comment section below. So definitely email myself, and we will get your questions answered very promptly. Try not to ask questions on the YouTube just because I don't have the greatest visibility on that. If you guys shoot me an email direct, that's the best way to ask questions. So, all right, guys, we'll leave it off with that. If I don't talk to you guys in the meantime, have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you guys next Tuesday to kind of keep going through this part. So, and then once we're done with this part, we are going to be jumping into what's new in SolidCAM 19. So a lot of cool stuff in there for you guys. So. All right, guys. Well, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.